This is the lesson on the motherboard. Now there are three types of motherboards that you need to be aware of. There is the standard ATX motherboard, which is the largest. You then have the micro ATX, which is the medium size, and then you have the smallest, which is the ITX. You can get smaller, as you can see the Nano and the Pico, but the ones that you need to know in particular is the ATX, micro ATX, and the ITX, the smallest. Here you have a range of ports. You've got the PS2, you've got DVIs, you've got eSATAs, you've got VGAs for the monitor, PS2s for the mouse and keyboard. These are all ports that you're going to be looking at later. Now here you have a video of one of the motherboards that we have in class. As you can see, the motherboard is placed in the chassis. The chassis is the case. The case must be compatible with the motherboard. If you purchase an ATX motherboard, you must purchase an ATX case. Remember guys, the ATX case is the biggest, okay, or the ATX motherboard is the biggest. It allows for expansion on your motherboard. Here you can see the fan, and underneath the fan is the CPU. So the big black round object you can see is the fan there with the CPU heatsink, which is on top of the CPU, the central processing unit. You then have next to it, or in fact just above it, you have the North Bridge, which deals with the fast components. It connects from the CPU to the graphics card, to the RAM, to the memory, so it allows for data to be transmitted quite fast between those components from the CPU. You then have your South Bridge as well, which deals with the slower components, which are your peripherals, which is tiny metal box which appears on your motherboard. As you can see now, I'm just turning around on the motherboard and you will now see a bigger picture of the North Bridge, the silver block there, quite a large block, and then just at the back of it you've got the South Bridge. Here you have DIMM slots, DIMM slots used for your RAM. You have different channels, you've got blue and you've got black colours here. Ideally try and place your RAMs in the same channel, so if you put it into the blue, put it into the blue again, just allows for data to be transferred more efficiently. You've got DDRs, you've got DDR2, DDR3, now DDR4. Make sure obviously you have the right amount of RAM to run your applications. The more RAM you have, the more applications can be run at the same time. Remember though, RAM is temporary memory, so data must be stored onto a permanent storage such as your hard drive. As we carry on and continue, you can see that there are little resistors that are coming off on the motherboard here, and then you can see your graphics card, a red card just at the back there. The resistors help remove an electric from the motherboard, and also it allows to protect the components. The graphics card is placed in the PCIe slots. We now have PCIes, which are PCI Express slots used for expansion. You also have on your motherboard, or the most important thing to know, is that your CPU, your RAM and your motherboard must be all compatible. If they are not compatible, you will then have issues with your computer. Always check the manufacturer's or motherboard details or the board details on there to make sure it is correct. So if you purchase an Intel i7, make sure that your motherboard supports an Intel i7. Okay, on your motherboard, as you can see, you've got your power connector, you've got ATX connectors, you've got USB connectors, you've got front panel connectors, you've got your BIOS, which is your basic input and output function, and it's always located near the batteries, a little battery that deals with the date and time, etc. And your BIOS is located there. It allows for you to adjust, or for the computer to check to make sure that the components are all connected up correctly, and it checks when it loads up. So when the computer loads, it looks for the keyboard, the mouse, the monitor to make sure it's all there ready to use. You also have network cards which can be placed in the PCIe slot, so expansion is very important on your motherboard. Make sure when you connect up your motherboard that it is placed slightly away from the case to avoid any overheating, and make sure that your screws are in place nice and securely, obviously not too close to the case there. Always use anti-static strap bands to protect your components from any static that may occur when you are connecting up your components on your motherboard. If you don't have this, it may damage your computer. Okay, now with the motherboard, once again, make sure that your components are securely in place. Make sure that your RAM's in place securely. Make sure your CPU's placed correctly. We'll be looking at this in a bit more detail in class. On your motherboard, as you can see, there are a range of components that you can connect up, and you can make your computer as efficient and effective for your client needs. Okay, so there we have the motherboard. As you can see, you've got your DIMM slots, you've got your CPU, you've got your ports, you've got your graphics card, which is located on the PCIe slots, express slots, which are more commonly on motherboards now. You've got your north bridge, you've got your south bridge, you've got your PSU, which is your power supply unit as well, which is not shown in this video, but we will be looking at that in more detail. Okay, I hope this video has helped you.